Ghost stories? Pfft. Superstition, foolishness.
Lena scoffed at ghost stories. Superstition, she called it, foolishness. Her pen was her weapon, her notepad, her shield, against the darkness of ignorance. She came to the village of Silent Hollow seeking a story. She found something else.
This place, it's so quiet.
The village huddled beneath a suffocating silence, nestled between hills that seemed to swallow sound. It was a place where shadows lingered long after the sun dipped below the horizon. The villagers were wary of her. Their eyes, reflecting the cold grey sky, followed her every move. They spoke of the church on the hilltop, its spire a skeletal finger pointing accusingly at the heavens. They spoke of the choir, its ethereal voices rising each night on the wind. They warned her, their whispers laced with fear.
Do not listen, they pleaded.
Lena, ever the skeptic, dismissed their warnings as the ramblings of a superstitious people. Yet a seed of unease had been planted. The silence of the village was unnerving, broken only by the rustle of wind through dying leaves and the distant barking of a dog. As she walked the narrow cobbled streets, she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes following her every move. The church loomed over the village, a Gothic monolith that seemed to absorb the very sunlight. Its stone walls were weathered and cracked, stained with the passage of time and something else Lena couldn't quite place. The air around it felt heavy, oppressive, as if an unseen weight pressed down on her chest.
It's so cold in here.
Inside, the air was cold, damp, and smelled faintly of mildew and decay. Dust motes danced in the slivers of light that pierced the grimy windows. As darkness fell, a hush fell over the village. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Lena, seated in the church's shadowy depths, felt a shiver run down her spine. The villagers had warned her about the choir, about the voices that sang only in the dead of night. She had scoffed, of course, but now, surrounded by the oppressive silence of the ancient church, doubt gnawed at the edges of her skepticism.
What is that? Music?
Then she heard it. A faint melody carried on the wind drifted through the broken window. It was beautiful, haunting, like the whisper of angels. As the music swelled, growing louder, Lena could make out individual voices, each one clear and distinct, yet blending together in perfect harmony. The sound seemed to wrap around her, to seep into her very bones. She crept closer to the altar, her heart pounding against her ribs. The music seemed to emanate from the choir loft, hidden from view by shadows and dust. Lena, her curiosity battling with a growing sense of dread, climbed the creaking stairs. The music was deafening now, a symphony of voices that seemed to fill the entire church. She reached the loft and peered over the railing. The loft was empty.
Where is everyone?
She stared at the empty space where the choir should have been, her mind struggling to reconcile the evidence of her ears with the emptiness before her eyes. The music swelled around her, seeming to press in on her, suffocating her. She reached out a hand as if to touch the source of the sound, but her fingers met only empty air. Panic welled up inside her. She stumbled back from the railing, her foot catching on a loose floorboard. She fell, landing hard on the dusty floorboards. As she lay there, gasping for breath, the music seemed to mock her, the sound of unseen voices echoing around her. She scrambled to her feet and fled, the sound of the phantom choir chasing her into the night. Lena woke to a village transformed. Gone was the wary suspicion, replaced by a chilling fervor. The villagers moved with an unnerving synchronicity, their eyes glazed over, their faces slack. They spoke in hushed tones, their words strange, echoing the rhythms of the choir's song. Their gazes, once wary, now lingered on her with an unsettling intensity.
What happened to them?
She saw it first on the baker's wife, a faint, shimmering mark on her wrist, like a brand. Then she noticed it on others, a symbol etched onto their skin, appearing as if by magic. It was the same symbol she had glimpsed on the church floor, half hidden beneath layers of grime and dust. The choir's mark. They were chosen, bound to the church, to the voices that sang in the night. The realization struck her like a physical blow. The choir wasn't just a collection of voices, it was a force, an entity that held sway over the village and its inhabitants. The music wasn't a gift, it was a curse, binding the souls of the villagers to the church, their will subsumed by the choir's ethereal song. Her skepticism crumbled. The supernatural, once the stuff of scoffed-at stories, had become her terrifying reality.